Good morning, citizens joining us today. We are here in this forum to discuss the Iranian coup d'etat in 1953. Good morning, citizens joining us today. We are here in this forum to discuss the Iranian coup d'etat from 1953.
We're being joined by the experts Andrea Torres, Isaac Ochoa, Steven Alcaraz, and yourself, Maria Isabel.
Let's begin with a summary of this coup d'etat. The 1953 Iranian coup d'etat was the overthrow of the democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh in favor of strengthening the monarchical rule of Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. Any of you have ever heard of these two people?
Oh, yeah.
No, but later on I can tell you some information about them.
Okay, we're looking forward to hear that information. On 19 August 1953, orchestrated by the United Kingdom, there were two operations, one of the United Kingdom and one of the United States. The United Kingdom was called Operation Boot, and the one of the United States was called Operation Ajax. Mossadegh had sought to audit the documents of the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, or AEOC, a British corporation, and to limit the company's control over Iranian petroleum reserves. Upon the refusal of the AEOC to cooperate with the Iranian government, the parliament voted to nationalize Iran's oil industry and to expel foreign corporate representatives from the country. After this vote, Britain investigated a worldwide boycott of Iranian oil to pressure Iran economically. Initially, Britain mobilized its military to seize control of the British-built Abadan oil refinery, when the world's largest but Prime Minister Clement Attlee opted instead to tighten the economic boycott, while using Iranian agents to undermine Mossadegh's government. Winston Churchill, I'm sure you've heard of him.
Yes.
Have you heard of him?
Yes.
Okay, well, he and the Eisenhower administration decided to overthrow Iran's government, though the predecessor Truman administration had opposed the coup. Classified documents show that British intelligence officials played a pivotal role in initiating and planning the coup, and that the AIOC contributed approximately with $25,000 towards the expense of bribing officials. In August 2013, 60 years later, the American Central Intelligence Agency, which you might know as CIA, admitted that it was a charge of both the planning and the execution of the coup, including the bribing of Iranian politicians, security, and army high-ranking officials, as well as pro-coup propaganda. The CIA is quoted acknowledging the coup was carried out under CIA direction and as an act of U.S. foreign policy, conceived and approved at the highest levels of government.
Thanks, Andrea. Well, to enter more in detail, let us tell you a little bit about the conflict. 60 years ago, Iranian military officers backed by US and British intelligence agencies initiated a coup d'etat whose aftershocks can still be felt around the globe. In addition to the coup, toppled Iranian's first democratically elected government and its popular prime minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, and it's widely credited with fueling the hostility against the West that culminated decades later with the 1979 Islamic Revolution. But the events that played out over a 5 period from August 15 to the 19 reverberated far beyond Iranian's borders.
Wow, that's so interesting. In addition, the coup altered the geopolitical landscape in the Middle East. It became a blueprint for a succession of covert U.S. efforts to foster coups and destabilize government in the 1950s, provided Soviet Union with ideological ammunition during the Cold War.
The theory disputed by some was that the CIA and Britain's M16 masterminded the coup to maintain control over Iranian oil and to prevent Tehran from falling under Soviet influence after World War II.
Wow, I didn't think about that. Well, thank you. Mossadegh played a prominent role in Iran's 1951 move to nationalize its oil industry, which had long been controlled by Britain. The decision led to a worldwide boycott of Iran oil, intending to rein in Mossadegh's government. But when that failed, a secret plan was devised to oust him.
Yeah. Also, Mohammad Mossadegh, which we mentioned, was the Prime Minister of Iran in 1951, and he was removed from the power by a coup d'etat. He was opposed to foreign intervention in Iran. We have other key actors in the Iranian coup d'etat, like Mozaffar al-Din Kahar, Fasollah Zahedi, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, and Kermit Roosevelt.
Mozaffar al-Din Shah Kahar, the fifth Shah of the Kahar dynasty in Persia, in May 1901, he sought to pay debts owed to Britain by granting a 60-year petroleum search concession to William Knox Darcy. This was one of the early causes for the war.
I heard that Kermit Roosevelt was a secret spy that contributed the overthrow of the democratic government of Iran. Because, as my colleague said, Great Britain was in danger to lose the control of Iranian oil fields.
Right, Isabel. Later, the replacement of Mossadegh with a hand-picked Prime Minister, General Fasollah Zahedi, opened the way for Iranians' relatively weak Shah to gain nearly absolute power within Iranian's constitutional monarchy, with strong military and economic backing from Washington. Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi would take on the role of autocrat until the Islamic Revolution in 1979.
Wow! As for Mossadegh himself also, was arrested and convicted of treason. Did you know that? He was arrested, he served 3 years in jail, but he was later on house arrest until his death in 1967.
Stephen Kinzer, the author of All the Shah's Men, an American Coup, and the Roots of Middle East Terror, sees the coup as a short-term victory for Washington, but in the long terms, he says, Washington's intervention in Iran will prove detrimental to its standing in Iran.
From the perspective of history, the coup was not successful for the United States, says Kinzer. The 1979 revolution was a long-term effect on the increasing repression from the Shah, who came to power as a result of the coup. The Islamic Revolution brought to power a fanatically anti-American regime that has spent more than 30 years working to undermine American interests all over the world. 60 years on, the coup continues to loom large in Iran's national physique and remains enthroned on the country's relations with the West. Mark Gasiorowski, author of Mohammad Mossadegh and the 1953 coup d'etat in Iran, says the removal of Mossadegh paved the way from two political trends: radical Islamists led by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, and radical leftists in the form of the militant Mujahedin-e-Khalq, to gain ground the decades after the coup.
Thank you, Isaac. Well, what the coup did was to take out the moderate secular elements of Iran political and able radical Islamists and radical leftists to emerge as key opposition factions in place of it. Gasiorowski says, the coup had this big impact of essentially eliminating this pro-democratic faction, and that had a very important impact on Iran politics in the intervening years. Kinzer, an award-winning journalist who teaches at Boston University, says that Iran coup was a milestone for the upstart CIA, which was established in 1947. He says the 1953 coup, which was the agency's first major successful overthrow of a foreign government, became a temple for the future. Had the Iran operation not succeeded, the idea of covert operation that became such an integral part of American foreign policy during the 1950s and beyond might not have seemed to appealing, he says. In conclusion, following the 1953 coup in Iran, the CIA later failed to oust Syria's president in 1957. suffered a black eye, began the unsuccessful military invasion of Cuba in 1961. For decades, the United States denied playing any part in the Iran coup, but the position ended in 2009 when President Barack Obama acknowledged Washington's role. In Britain, meanwhile, the government-funded BBC provided details in 2011 of how it broadcast any Mossadegh programs to undermine his government. Secret files and memories of CIA operations show that the CIA played a pivotal role in initiating and planning Operation Ahaz, as a covert operation to oust Mossadegh was called. Thank you.
Wow, that was very interesting. Thank you for telling us some things about that.
Thank you everyone, thank you Isaac, Steven and Isa, which had the time to talk us a little bit of the Iranian coup d'etat. I'm sure you all have research of this since you were studying in
college maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this made more interesting facts. It was more interesting and too much information.
Sure, I bet that you all watching us could get a lot of information of what we said today.
Yeah, so you don't fail your exam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And have a nice day.